welcome to the Money and Fariha show. I am Fariha, and as always, it is a pleasure and delight to have you accompany me on this Friday evening. You can watch us on Facebook as well as on Toronto 360, the website, and then on YouTube. So there's several platforms that if you didn't catch the original airing, you can catch us again and again. As I said, always a delight and pleasure to have you accompany me, and we're always striving to have the most incredible guests on our show ever. And today I have a very special man indeed. His name is Matt Black. And before I introduce him and have him come out and speak to all of you, I have a few quotes which I would like to share. So a little bit about Matt first before I share what he says as the founder of Heroes in Black. So who is Matt Black? He describes himself as an entrepreneur, a musician, and an alchemist. And I was really intrigued by the word alchemist because what does it mean? It means someone who turns lead into gold. And the way that he's transformed his own life as well as other lives, I would say there truly is that transformation from taking whatever was there and turning it into gold. So quite exceptional. Everything happens for a reason, and we say that all the time here as well on the Money and Fariha show. And that is how Matt Black looks back on his life. So until a few years ago, he was still living in the shelter system, which is unthinkable and unimaginable for the majority of us, but he will be able to share his story shortly. So he was being in and out of the shelter system since he was kicked out of his home at the age of 15. Struggling with everything from drug addiction to the loss of a friend, which itself can take such a toll because when we're so close to someone, the loss of them can be absolutely devastating. He actually passed away in a train accident, and while trying to survive, Matt experienced much turmoil, which at the time he perceived to be difficult situations. And I reflect upon the word perceived because everything truly is a perception. When we think that we're going through difficult situations, that's how they occur to us. And when we think of them as happening for a reason and as serving us, as now Matt does, it totally has a shift in our perception and the way that we live our lives. So there was no silver spoon, he says. I hit rock bottom many times. And how many of us can relate to that? You know, we think that, oh, I hit rock bottom once, how many more times is this going to happen? And then it happens again and again. And it really doesn't matter how many times we hit that rock bottom as long as we continue to get up after that. So a few years later, looking back at the ups and downs in Matt's life, he's off the streets living in his own place amongst family members and has established himself as an inspiring musician while launching the Heroes in Black Foundation, which is a non-for-profit clothing line and a non-for-profit clothing line. And he's also founded the Scarlet Sky Project to engage homeless youth in making music. So as I said, everything has served him and he's developed into who he is today and serving and giving back to the community. He says much of where he is today has to be credited to finding a music mentor who believed in him and his talent. And since Matt has been able to open up his own recording studio, Scarlet Sky Records, inside historic Music Mansion, and has performed all across Toronto on main stages. Apart from that, Matt Black is the proof that miracles can happen. He is a miracle himself, and he creates numerous miracles for others as well. He feels blessed that his life took a change, and I would say that all of us are blessed that his life took a change too. With the right mindset, he was able to create the lifestyle that he wanted. And now he's ready to take his career to the next level. It's all part of being his own personal brand. It stands for alchemy, and going back to that aspect of changing lead into gold, or whatever it may be, because it's just chemistry, right? We can just infuse whatever magic we want into creating the miracles that we want in our life, as well as influencing others to do the same. A quote for him: "When I awake, I am but one person. But when I pick up a mic, a pen, or a guitar, I know for certain I become something else." How profound is that? And really, that's all it takes. How is it that in our own life, whatever inspires us causes us to be someone else, someone that we truly are, for us to live our spirit? It's remarkable of how just little things that make us happy then have that ripple effect and go on to make others in the world happy. So a message from Matt Black as the founder of Heroes in Black. So our dream is that one day there will be positive and successful solutions to homelessness altogether. And what he says next it had me thinking that, we often think that, oh, we're going to go out there and change the world, and it seems unrealistic. However, if we just take those one steps or use everything that we come across as a stepping stone to ultimately get to our goal, we really don't know what can be accomplished and where it might lead. So he says, there is and will never be an end to homelessness, as some cities have, quote unquote, claimed. Those are merely cities trying to sugarcoat the public and get funding. So that's not good, is it? 70% of people who become homeless are technically refugees of sexual, emotional, and physical abusive situations at homes. That's very sad. So oftentimes we think, how did this person end up on the streets? And there's always a story behind it. We hear in America that there's so many war heroes that came back. They were celebrated. They received their medals, and yet now they're homeless. So what is that story? What got them to where they are on the streets? Something to think about, right? It can be a very dark place, internally plagued with trauma, PTSD, other types of trauma for sure. Instead, it festers like a ghost that haunts them, forever chasing them further and further towards the darkness. By providing fun, consistent, inspirational solutions for cases like this, we can limit the length of someone being homeless and redirect their lives. But we cannot end it entirely. Unfortunately, these cases will always continue. And as sad a reality that is, I was speaking with Matt earlier this week, and he said that it truly is a mindset to be homeless. And when I reflected upon that, I thought, whatever situation we may find ourselves in, whether it's homelessness or not, we can be victims living in a house, having all the luxuries of the world and still be unhappy. So everything that we encounter, everything that we are living is a mindset. And even if we can't always relate to the stories that we hear, there's always a grain of gold that we can take and then apply to our own lives. So going on, after 2 years of living on the streets, someone is 90% more likely to accept living like that for the rest of their lives. Wow. They say that it takes 21 days. Other studies say that it takes 90 days to develop a habit, but 2 years just go by like anything. A snap of a finger and a year is gone, and a snap of 2 fingers and 2 years are gone. And to just accept it and decide that that is your life's fate, that's something very sad indeed. So this is why Heroes in Black was created, in hopes to break the cycle before people experience what 2 years on the streets can do to them. And this is what we as a country can accomplish in the next few years nationwide. So if you have been looking for an organization that aims to do exactly that while involving the public in every step of the way, then join Heroes in Black to continue the mission and make this dream a national reality. How great would that be? It would be a pleasure to raise awareness with each and every one of you, to promote for youth homelessness while raising the bar and becoming the change that we wish to see in the world. Absolutely. And that is a quote by Gandhi, as I'm sure that that all of us know, and I have said on previous shows as well. Another quote which I actually pulled out from Gandhi is, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I chose this particular quote because I see that Matt actually has lost himself in the service of others, and through that, he's found himself. So it may seem a bit like an oxymoron, but it truly goes around. So what goes around comes around. And another quote which I love, and this one is by Muhammad Ali, it's that service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Do we ever think that it's such an honor and a privilege to be here, to be doing what we do, to be breathing, to be living here on earth? It truly is a privilege. And then what do we do about it? Do we ever think of giving back, of paying something forward with all the blessings that we have? As we go to break, I will leave you to contemplate that, and I will be back with Matt Black shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I know that you have been anxiously waiting to be introduced to Matt Black. So without further ado, welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. Yes, mutually, which is always good. So you have quite the story, and I did introduce it in the previous segment, but I'm sure that everyone would love to hear from you directly.
Yeah, I personally spent 10 years homeless myself. I was trying all the programs, all the options that were available, and none of them seemed to really engage me. And I didn't really realize it at first. I believed that being homeless was something, it was my biggest shame. I didn't want to tell anybody about it. But what I didn't realize is that I was actually being trained and prepared for what I'm doing today. And I've seen a lot of things that were missing, and hopefully can find solutions for the youth that exist now that are going through the same times that I was.
Excellent. So what type of programs were you introduced to that just didn't do it for you?
Personally, it was more about, I found the biggest things that, or the most things that were offered were really just fixing your resume and getting a job. And personally, I was going through so much inner turmoil that I couldn't keep those jobs. I could get a job real easy, but keeping it didn't seem to work out that well, as I was battling a lot of, inner issues of self-worth and abandonment and stuff like that. So there were literally times I'd be breaking down in work and can't even gasp air enough to tell my manager why I'm crying, and they'd just literally fire me.
Yeah.
That actually happened quite a lot.
That's very sad to hear. And what it sounds like these programs are doing are just a quick fix, like a Band-Aid, as opposed to getting to the root cause.
Well, yeah, and don't get me wrong. There are counseling, programs that are offered, but personally, the ones that I came in contact with, either they didn't engage me, or I didn't feel like I could confide in them, or the environment just never felt safe enough to really release some of those things that I went through and let somebody know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you use that as what is needed out there, and have created your own program, which is targeted more towards the youth.
Yes. So we have almost 11 initiatives.
11, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And we started with one, which was the clothing line, like you mentioned earlier.
Yes. And how did that come about?
Honestly, I was on the phone with one of my good friends, Johnny. And
shout out to Johnny.
Yeah, and he's actually the director of our graphic design and website development. He is amazing. And we were just having a conversation, and I was like, man, like I want to just start doing something now instead of later. And he reminded me that when I was homeless, I wanted to do this 2-for-1 shirt deal. So anything that you bought, you would get one, and a homeless youth would get one brand new for free. And I was like, oh yeah, that was a great idea. And he went away, and there's a symbol that I had been creating for my album, and he kind of put the symbol on to a bunch of different, shirts, pants, gloves, hats. And he sent me some graphics, and I checked it out, and I really, really liked it.
And before you knew it, a clothing line developed.
Exactly. I basically tested it out on Facebook, and I made a post saying, if anybody buys, a shirt before this date, youth in shelters will get one for Christmas. And I think in about 3 days, we had about 100 orders, which was one of the most lucrative posts we've probably made ever. And it was our first one ever. And it really showed me that the city of Toronto does support these types of things, and actually are looking to be a part of things like this, which was interesting for me because everyone was telling me there's no way in hell, this is the screw-face city, or the screw-face capital of the world.
Oh my gosh.
All these different things, but
well, it's just as well you didn't listen to them, right?
Yes, there's a lot of things I've had to not listen to.
And that's always it, that we're always faced with these hurdles when we have a dream or an initiative that we want to launch, and then if we listen to others, we would never launch it. Exactly. But if we just take that first step, you get 100 orders.
And sometimes it's important not to listen to yourself, not just others, because sometimes we self-talk ourselves out of things.
The self-sabotage voice in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And what are some of the other initiatives? I know that we were talking about one that you have developing for the youth center.
Yes. Well, that's completely separate, actually. But the youth center is going to be our home. You know, and when I say our home, I don't mean Heroes in Black. I mean, you know, the family that's been created with Heroes in Black and the youth that we work with.
So tell me about this family at Heroes in Black and how they all came together.
Yeah, I mean, every event we grow, to be honest. I mean, currently we now have about 1,000 volunteers who have come and go since we've started, and still keep in contact, still support.
Yes.
We also have worked with, you know, a few hundred kids, one-on-one, through our camps, through our hero training, through our haircut heroes. These are all different initiatives. So, like, you know, haircut heroes, you get free haircuts. Hero camp, which we'll actually be talking about a little later. We take youth in shelters camping. We have the clothing line. We have holiday heroes, where we give brand new wrap gifts on Christmas morning. We actually invite the public to give Christmas before they have their own. And we literally go live and direct, handing out gifts to people on the streets in the morning. It's a really beautiful event.
It sounds it.
Yeah, it definitely is. We have powwow heroes, where we take Indigenous youth to powwows and let them experience their culture and their background. It's really important to me to include them very much in all that we do.
And I would say that what you're doing of introducing them to their own culture, and sometimes it is an introduction, right? Because they could be so far removed.
Yeah.
And when you have that sense of belonging and, wow, these are my roots, this is what I come from.
Yeah, exactly.
It totally changes your being and gives you this sense of self-esteem, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And how did that come about?
Actually, that came about from one of our greatest supporters, Tom. He hates it when I mention him, but I'm going to mention him. He had
mentioned with love.
You see, one of the cool things that I've realized with Heroes in Black is that we're not just here to, you know, work with youth in shelters or the homeless. We're also here to create an umbrella for entrepreneurs and humanitarians that want to give back to the community. So, for example, Tom came to me and said, you know, this is something that could be really cool. And I was already looking into starting an Indigenous division. And I was like, this is perfect. Let's get that going. And we did one last year, and we're about to do one in August at the Rama Powwow coming up in August. And yeah, it's been really great.
Amazing. How many people do you have coming out for the various events?
Well, it varies. I mean, we also have Hunger Heroes, where we're partnered with Hero Burgers, and they give us all the burgers that we'd
perfect.
like. Yeah, right?
Sharing of a name.
Yeah. They give us all the vegetarian burgers we'd like, and we go out and, no animals were harmed in the process of our event. And we go out and we feed people directly on the streets every month. And, you know, events like that can get anywhere from 50 to 150 people.
And what about the powwows?
With the powwows, it's just starting, so I wouldn't say too many. I believe this year is going to be a lot more than last year. Probably,
as the word gets out there.
Yeah, probably around 20 to 30 people, youth, that we'll be bringing this year.
Yeah, but you have a team of volunteers that coordinate everything and facilitate as well, right?
Yes, there definitely is a team. I probably do too much of a lot of stuff that I just want to learn. Like I'm always just learning. So yes, there's a team in place, but I probably
you like to be hands-on.
I'm probably too hands-on. They might, yeah.
All right, Matt. Too much.
Yeah.
But that's great, because you want to be part of each and everyone's life, right? Like having created this foundation, you're not just in it you're in it for the heart of it, and to see the end user who's actually receiving the services that you're offering and have developed.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And it definitely helps that I was that person and having that insight. That's kind of why I do wear all hats as much as I can because I bring that insight to it, and I just want to make sure until it's completely structured and laid out that it's done so with that insight.
And that's so necessary, having a political science background and researching the various programs that governments have created. Oftentimes it's a top-down approach where people who have never experienced the life that they're going to impact or want to impact say, oh, we think you need this, this, and this. And the person at the grassroots level is like, actually, I don't need any of that. Like, why do I even need a school when I don't have sanitation services, right? So to have that insight, it truly would make a world of difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell us about the youth center. I know that there's something very special that you want everyone to collaborate on.
Yeah, for sure. We are planning an awesome campaign coming up in October, and we are looking to raise the funds for a youth center.
And how much is required for this?
Actually, it's around 250.
Okay.
250, and we are going to basically do a bombardment of Ellen DeGeneres' email box, and we've already collectively.
You have her email address?
Yeah, we have about 200 people registered to email. The video for this campaign is already underway. It is absolutely beautiful, and I'm just so blown away at where we are and how far we've come. And once this video is done, we basically are going to pick a time collectively, and we're all going to email at the exact same time so that it floods the email box. We're actually going to be doing it, I believe, around August 15th. So there's still time before the campaign starts, so we can at least get in the lineup of her TV shows. I'm sure there's a lot of people in line. So
I'm sure, but I would say that Ellen is pretty, fair in who she chooses, and
for sure.
And she's quite a generous person. So I don't think that you could have selected anyone better.
Yeah.
Yes, and totally in line with everything that you have going on. So count me in for that,
Okay, awesome.
And all of our support as well.
Yes. Yeah, and if anybody wants to take part as well, you can reach out to us at info@heroesinblack.ca, and we can definitely get you on that list. But one of the cool things about the center is that it's going to be an entrepreneurial youth center, where we will be basically, helping them build the dreams or life that they would like.
Yeah.
Not just like making them go get a job so that they can just work and be okay. We want them to find the job that would make them happy. We want them to have a job that when they get there in the morning, they're not looking at the clock. They're looking at the tasks at hand and excited to do them. We want them to create companies if they can do that, or freelance photography or whatever it is that they really want to do, and get them started by shadowing professionals in those fields. And we're really excited about that. Plus, we're going to be doing a 24-hour section of the center. Will be 24 hours.
Okay.
Late at night, I'm sure we've all seen how when you're coming out of the bars or clubs or anything like that, you'll see at McDonald's there's usually people that are sitting there sleeping and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is a hope to somehow not eliminate that, but have a place that they can go to be safe, and not feel centered out or worried if they can afford another coffee to stay longer. So that's one of my favorite parts about that. Yeah.
It sounds amazing, and like you called it, a real safe place, right? That people don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we are due for a break, so we will be back with you very shortly discussing further initiatives that Matt Black has going on. Welcome back, everyone. We have been having quite an educational conversation with Matt Black and everything that he is up to within his foundation entitled Heroes in Black, the 11 initiatives that he has going on, one of which we will be speaking about right now in detail, and that is the youth camp.
Yes. Hero Camp actually started with me and my friends. We would do this annual camping trip in Collingwood, and I realized that was one of my favorite things that I did in the year, and I wanted to find a way to give that to youth in shelters as well. And then I did some research into it and found out that after 2 nights and 3 days in nature, your cortisol levels are dramatically reduced to a point of calm and peace.
And cortisol is the neurotransmitter which transmits, for lack of a better word, at times of stress or when things aren't going well.
Yeah. So we definitely wanted to give them that. And we bring motivational speakers and entrepreneurs that have been at the bottom and found a way out, to inspire them and just be around them and let them know that it is possible. Everyday people can do extraordinary things.
They truly can.
Yeah.
It just takes that little bit of extra, like ordinary people doing extraordinary things. It's what is that little extra that they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you have one coming up, right? At the
Yeah,
end
we have
of
one
the
coming
month.
up on the 31st till the 2nd. And Wet and Wild Water Park actually provided us with 30 free passes.
Wow, that's quite generous.
Yes, for sure.
And a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So we're very honored for them to do that. And we're going to be right across the street from it at a campground there.
Oh my gosh, how convenient as well.
Yeah, and we're going to be tenting this time.
So what have you done in the past if you're tenting this time?
Well, we have 4 different camps. So it's not just once a year. We do 4 or 5 in a year.
And it's all year round?
Yeah. No, we don't. We haven't done a winter one yet. There has been some talk about it. I don't know if we're gonna get there anytime soon, but it could happen.
You never know.
I won't say never, but usually from spring until fall, we have about 4 camps, and they're usually all different. So we have day camps usually at the Center Island.
Yes.
Where we play volleyball, sports, do some motivational speaking, feed them all day. Such a great time, but it's just for the day. Those ones are more so for for new beginners. That's kind of where we kind of get a feeling of the people.
Get them comfortable.
Yeah, and they get to know us. Just spend the day with us, kind of thing. Then we have our more intense camp where we go to Collingwood. Last time we had a 30-man party bus pick up youth from shelters, right up front of the shelters.
Yeah.
And they got to play their music all the way up and, dance and have a good time. And then when we got there, we had 4 cottages that had about 8 or 10 rooms in each cottage. There was an indoor pool, jacuzzis in all of the
suites,
all the different cottages. And again, we brought motivational speakers, and my mother actually came and cooked all the meals, and it was such an amazing time. Everyone got hoodies. Everyone had a great time. So
sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, but my favorite part about the camp is, again, what we were talking about earlier, with them becoming a family.
Yes.
Because at these campfires that we have, the youth get a chance to tell their story. And a lot of them go so much in depth that they'll be cheering, they'll be crying, they'll be hugging, they'll be
all
laughing.
types of emotions.
And at the end of it, all these youth from different shelters now know each other in such a depth that they may not even know some people that they think they're closer with, that they've been hanging out with at the shelter for months. And so they have that posse to go back, that hero camp posse kind of thing, where they look out for each other because they know their stories, right? And it was the first time, when we have those fires, and when I had first seen this happen, it was the first time I realized that while trying to create a support system for the youth, I had never considered that we could create an environment that would allow the youth to become their own family as well. And that really pushed me further.
What I see in that, Matt, is when they are exposed to such an environment where everyone is sharing and sharing wholeheartedly, it probably allows them to go back and take that mentality to wherever they have come from as well.
Exactly.
And become closer to whoever they normally hang out with.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be really cool.
It will for sure. And how can people help out, volunteer?
Well, we have a generosity page going right now, where you can find on our Facebook page in the event section, there is the Hero Camp event there, and in the link there is a ticket link. If you click that link, it will go to our generosity page, where there's lots of different ways. You could provide 1 meal, 2 meals, a day's worth of meals for youth. You can sponsor a youth. You can even join us, take part in the action, and see for yourself. Also, I want to mention Armin, who's going to be speaking at this engagement. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be doing a talk about shifting our habits and taking away old ones that aren't working for us and creating new ones that will.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about all of it, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I've heard quite a few of his talks and seminars, and one thing which he says, which I've carried forward because I find it useful, is that there is no good, bad, right, wrong. It's, is it useful or is it not? So without any judgment, without saying, oh, that's a bad behavior, just look at it, is this behavior serving me or not, right? And then it's an easier approach to shift it because the ego doesn't take it so hard.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have Armin as one of your speakers. Who else do you have?
Man, we've had a lot of different speakers. It's not necessarily that we have them. We just invite the public to join us in any thing that we do. So if I see somebody that's out there that's doing something great and I believe in what they're doing, then I'll usually reach out to them. But we also accept people that reach out to us and are looking to do it. All we really ask is for a video of them explaining what it is they'd like to speak to the youth about, and if it's something that sounds
that's
great,
aligned with your mission.
Yeah, then we do it.
And with regards to your funding, is it all privately funded?
Currently, right now, I've been self-funding for the past 4 years.
That's really phenomenal.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm lucky to have been in a position to even do that, as I set some things up when I had first gotten signed and first gotten off the streets. I'm not sure if we've mentioned that before, but when I was homeless, that's how I got off. I was actually discovered through Universal Records and started turning my life around. Opened up a studio, and and then basically created a consulting company for other studios that were wondering how I was booked out so much. And I made a deal for a residual monthly income as long as they're in business that I've literally been living off of since around 2010. And it was the first time, I mean, my goal at the time was just so that I could create a life to do what I wanted. And at the time, I just wanted to have a life where I could play video games on Monday all day if I wanted to.
Yeah, the freedom, right?
Right, and then once I achieved that, obviously I grew to other goals.
Absolutely, and that's always the case. We think that this is what we want at a specific time in our life, and then when we get it, we get a little bored, and it's like, what else is out there? Because there truly is always something out there.
Of course, there are supporters who come along and help us. It's not like I'm covering everything. There's a lot of supporters that come forward and say, you know what, I'll take care of this, or I'll take care of that. But yeah.
Toronto is pretty generous, despite what people may think.
It's collectively as a city that we're doing this.
Yes. So. And how did you come up with the word alchemist?
Well, for me, I obviously read The Alchemist.
Yeah, it changed my life.
It's same here. Months later, I was signed. So a lot of things started to change from reading that book. And I'm a very metaphoric person. I'm a writer as well, and
it's a form of your creative expression.
Yeah,
right?
for
in
sure.
your lyrics and writing.
So for me, it's I'm to me I believe I'm a community alchemist. So like I see things that are there, and it's not that they're bad or not that they're whatever, but I innovate and I try to create it or make it better in some way, shape, or form. Just updating, Really, I feel like there's a lot of things that are out there in the systems that are just a little outdated and just not
just
being...
need a fresh approach.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what I offer, and I'm excited to do so.
Oftentimes we think that someone else is going to do it or take care of it, that bystander effect, but you have really taken everything on yourself. So kudos to you.
Thank
and
you.
Just so proud of you for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on our show as well.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we have a video as well that we're going to be sharing about the camp. So is this from like previous years or things that you have planned for this one?
This camp video is from April.
From April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's fresh.
That was a previous event, a previous camp?
A previous Hero Camp this year, yes.
Okay. And you said that you have about 5 a year.
Yeah.
Do they have different themes?
Like I said, there's like the island one, there's one in Collingwood, and then sometimes people will either let us use their cottage or some stuff like that, and there's little small ones that we like I said, the day ones, we get to know them, and after that, there's more options for them. So, you know, say for instance, someone who's been to a few camps will come to something that's a little smaller, because sometimes there's a place of only 10 people and whatnot, so we don't put lists up. We directly contact the ones that we were already in contact with and bring them. So yeah, there's a lot of different options in that regard for sure.
And it sounds like you're affiliated with a bunch of other do-gooders.
Yes,
or other people who are change agents and wanting to make that impact and difference out there in the world.
Yes, for sure.
So those are total like lived examples that you can give to these people that, look, this is where I came from and this is what I did. And then there's other people who are creating like soup kitchens and other initiatives and the entrepreneurship. So it truly is a whole package of the mind, body, spirit, like the physical eating, the mental nourishment or the motivational speaking, and then that emotional purge. Yeah,
no, for sure. And honestly, I hope to, in some way, shape, or form, you know, collectively create a justice league of all of these great people.
I'm sure you will. It's like you're on your way already.
Thank you.
So thank you again, Matt.
Yes, thank you.
And we hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Mani and Fariha Show with Matt Black. Oftentimes in the world, we think that, you know, Canada, it's a developed country and there's so many opportunities. We have people watching from all over the globe, and coming from a Pakistani background myself, I often experience that people think that, you know, I don't want to say this, but it truly is the case that money grows on trees. You can just go in your backyard and pick it. But there is so much that goes around and links that can be established from what people are going through in Pakistan or India or other developing countries as well as here. And it's not a case of the cards that you've been dealt, but basically what you do with them. So lemons, make lemonade, or make lemonade popsicles one step further. But it's all about that innovation, about taking things to a level where they haven't been before. If we are somewhere that we don't want to be, where is it that we want to be? Because I'm sure there's several other people that want to be there as well. So let's create that pathway and get everyone there. Thank you so much for being here with me on this Friday evening on the Mani and Fariha Show. Goodbye and God bless, and I look forward to having you with me again.